Catherine, Sheila,
Michael,
Gilbert,
Zora,
Andy,
Kavisha, Saroja,
Carl,
Peter,
Josh,
Joseph,
Dean.
and Bob. Gonna talk, darling? Gonna talk?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's the one that welcomes the one. There's only one. Nothing other than that. Not a bad looking at that, is it? Everything is that. And innately we all know that. And realise and recognise that the only thing that discriminates and changes is the word. We put labels on everything. The words we've learned. And the word's not the real, it's only a label. If you go into Myers or David Jones or one of those to buy a shirt and you come out with a label, you wouldn't be too happy about it, would you? So from that you realise the word's not the thing. And then we've got all these words, but the word is only a label or a description, and the description can never be the described. And what we're trying to describe here is not its description, but it points towards it. In a lot of the scriptures and texts, they told Advaita non-duality. Non-duality is pointing out that it's not two, nothing other than one. And the other can only be relative to the one. And relativity is relationship. And relationship is our problem. Because we seemingly divide the one up and separate it, but it never was divided or separated. So whether you know it or not, or realise or not, or recognise it or not, that is all there is. And a little bit of investigation, you come to see that. You can't help it. If we get out of the conceptualising, and as they say, thought free, ever fresh, presence and awareness, free of the thoughts. Thoughts come up and they will come up, but leave them free and they'll move on. But we don't leave them free, we fixate on them and make the word seemingly real. And there's a lot of suffering and pain and all sorts of odd things going on in this manifestation. And if you think about it and look into it, could there be anything at all right or wrong if nothing can be added to it, nothing can be taken away without the word or the concept or the idea? So when they tell us, or they use the great mantra, I am that, know it for certain, right here, right now, that is all there is. So you can only be that. And as they say, the person, as Nisargadatta will tell you, the person is not reality. So we've all got this personal image we've picked up along the way when we learnt words. And some of us have questioned it and looked in it and seen it's not so. and others are still stuck with it. But as those that have seen through it will tell you, it only needs a little bit of investigation. Know the truth, as they tell you in the scripture, and the truth will set you free. If you look into the truth and see it's false, you must be free of the falseness. And that's all that needs to happen. And it's that simple that we miss it. Nothing simpler than one. And they call it one without a second. Not the moment or minute as second, but second means without the other, not separation from one. Absolute. Nothing you can add to absolute, nothing you can take away from absolute. So though it appears as a many, and it couldn't appear any other way, because in its absoluteness, what could be said about it, what could be seen, heard, tasted, touched or smelled about it. So you're riding the rhinoceros. Don't let it throw you. That's what we point out. And ask you to look along the lines we point to see it for yourself. You can look at in other lines if you like. Whatever way works for you. But the thing is, as they say, the false cannot stand up to investigation. So we need to investigate what we believe to be real and see if it is, if it's not. And if it's false and we investigate it, you really look into it, it must fall apart. And there are so many things you have investigated already that won't stand up to it. The blue sea, for instance, the sea's not water, the water's not blue. It appears to be. The same with the sky. Sky is space. The space is not blue. It appears to be. This is rooms full of space, where's the blueness in it? All sorts of things like that. And people stood on the shore years ago and looked off where the sea and the sky met. They were told, don't go out there, you'll fall off the edge of the earth. But nobody would believe that today, because they recognise that the earth is round. And in that roundness, there's no division in it, no separation. It just appears to be so. And you see that with the earth rolling around the sun. We think there's day and night, but it just means that there's one end facing towards, one side facing towards the sun, the other side is facing away from it. Causes darkness and light. But it's not. It appears to be so. And appearance is not the reality. And that's what they call it in the scriptures, a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be, seemingly so. And we got this idea we are the person, the seeming individual, the separate entity. This is me. This is what I am. But what is me? What is me? Is it this body? Is it this mind? Is it any concept, shape or form? Until it's looked into, we believe it to be the pattern, shape and form, the separate entity, the individual. But we look at it and see me is just a concept, a word we've learnt, and all the words we ever speak, every word you've ever spoken, has been learnt, been picked up along the way. We weren't born with any words, though people believe that they were. I can remember my birth, but can you? How could you remember something when you had no words to express it? You couldn't. And the first couple of years of your life you didn't have any words. But then your parents around you have learnt words and have words, and the capacity of reasoning that develops in you from the little child, and you start to reason these things and hear these sounds, vibrations, and realise that the parents are putting concepts on them, ideas, and you take this word, I, me, to be this person, which the parents have labelled as Billy or Jane or Bob or Bill or whatever. And you'll say, I am Bill or I am Jane. Not realising it's still the one essence. It's not the pattern, shape and form it's appearing in. As soon as we say, I am this shape or form, this individual, this person, we've separated ourselves. Instead of being the one absolute, non-conceptual, ever-fresh presence awareness, now we've become the isolated, separate individual. And we're seeing things, we're seeing all those different patterns, shapes and forms, putting labels on them all, and so we've got all this manifestation. All concepts, all ideas and images. And they tell you, again, those who have looked into it and realise that it is a phenomenal manifestation. It's a definition made up of phenomena. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So it's all appearing to be real. You, me, the chair, the carpet, everything in the room is appearing to be real. But investigate it. Is it so? Seems very close because we identify with it and not seeing that it's all manifestation appearing. It's all appearing to be so. Seemingly real. And the appearance is not the actuality. Are you the body? Are you the mind? Are you the person? Well, innately you know that you're not. You say, my body, my mind. Who's the me or the my that you're relating it to? Isn't it this conceptual label you picked up, or your parents told you you're Billy or Jane or Johnny, and you learnt a few words from your parents, and you're related to this word I or me. This is me, this is I, this is what I am. But are you a word? Pause the thought right now, and what can you say? Without the word, without the sound, without the concept. Can you say anything at all about it? Without a word, no. But you're still appearing, still expressing, seeming to be so, but you can't, without the word you can't divide it. It's just as it is. As is means unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, just as it appearing to be. And what we label me or I is the conceptual image we've taken on board. I am Bob. I am a good fellow, I'm not so good. All these concepts are words added to that initial concept I. But they tell us clearly it's non-dual. It's one without a second. It's not two. It's only that. A different way. And it says the great mantra is, I am that. I am not the body, or not the mind, or not the name and the form. I am that. That same essence that's breathing you right now, beating your heart, growing your hair in your fingernails, appears as the many, as everything around it, all the different appearances. Well, everything is that, so they, you, I, and everything else is already that. Not separate. One without a second. Now we've got all these problems, all these fears, these anxieties, the stresses, the guilt, the shame, remorse, and everything goes on in this pattern. Why? Because it's all relative to this concept we've got about ourselves. We take the concept to be real. Instead of saying it's an absolute totality, it's non-dual, we take it to be separate and apart. And the word appears to be real. But is the word real? Have a look at it. Take the word I or me. What is it? Does it have any shape? Any form? It seems to have a beginning and an end, but does it? And what's word? Word's only sound. What's sound? A vibration. And what's a vibration? A movement of energy. I look outside, look out through the window here, and I see there's plants waving in the wind, movement. There's plenty of vibration going on there. There's birds flying around it. There's cars going by. Same in this room. People are breathing, beating their hearts. There's plenty of movement, plenty of vibration. But to say it's so, we've got to put these words or labels on it. Without the word, does it cease? It doesn't. And sounds can be made. You hear the wind rustling through the leaves or something like that. It makes a sound. The cars going by, the birds singing, talking, all sounds, all words. But grab a sound, grab a word, hang on to it if you can. But we separate the idea, the concepts, the words with the sound. And all the sound is a vibration. And a vibration's a movement of energy. It comes and goes, constantly transient, constantly changing. And we don't notice that when the word comes to an end, there's a brief moment of, without the word, of silence, absence of sound. And we start another word, another sound, and we're totally locked all the time mainly in sounds and words, concepts, ideas, vibrations. They're all energy vibrating. Vibrates in the word sound, and the vibration is a movement which seems real. It is a movement, but we put the labels or words on it to give it some substance, some substance. But when it's looked at, you'll see everything in this manifestation, everything is transient. Some of it seems to carry on in this moment and this point spontaneously going on constantly. not realising everything is transient. Nothing static in it at all, though it appears to be. Like a lot of the other, all the manifestation appears to be, as they say, a phenomenal manifestation. There it is. That's all it is. A phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomenal is that which appears to be. It appears to be something solid, substantial. We separate ourselves and think we are separate from it as well. But what would be recognising when you do see it? It would be the subtle appearance, recognising and knowing the appearance as appearance, including itself. That is all that I am, a separate entity, an individual, a seeming person, appearing as this body-mind entity, a label we put on a person. And the person comes from the ancient Latin language. We learned all our words from, or the language, I don't know which we had first, the words or the language, but we put labels on. Person comes from the word persona, the Latin, meaning then, before it was we translated into all these different words, a mask, a conceptual image we put upon ourselves. We've disguised ourselves into this person or personals, this separate entity, an individual. And it needs, when you look into it, everything didn't have a pattern, shape or form to express through. What could you say about any of it? Nothing. Because it would be what it is, no thing. It'd have no shape or form. But to know itself and express itself, it vibrates into all these pattern shapes and forms. And we've got this myriads of things that make up this universe. Stars, billions of them, microbes, patterns, animals, birds, insects, human beings. The single, unitary, one without a second, appears as many. And naturally, because we never look into it when we're little kids, we take many to be real. Come along and listen to what they point out in the scriptures. The ancients have looked into, investigated, and seen it, learned to express it, experience it, and pointed out in the scriptures. Some of us corrupted, but some of us point directly and immediately to the simple truth that there is only that, and that is all and ever that you are. But they pointed out it's all absolute. It's all the 1 second, patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing and expressing it as everything. If it's that so, and knowing absolute, what the word absolute represents, can there be anything superior to absolute? Anything inferior to it? And is there anything you or I, absolute, would want or need? But see what we've done with the division. We like this, we don't want that, we want to get rid of this, we hate that, we love something else. Trying to alter, modify and correct that which is. Continues to happen. We continue to get locked into it. And then we don't like the way it's patterning, shape or forming. We think it should be different. And we think we have some power to alter, modify or correct with it, instead of leaving it as it is. But you look out there in nature, what are you doing about changing that? We're doing global warming and all these other things, bringing about change. Think we can change it, think we can right it. But no matter how much we try, and certain ways that we try, we move to do, naturally. In other ways that we think we move to do, we do, and so upset the equilibrium because of that doing. Instead of leaving it as it is. As is means unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. No preference, no partiality, no comparison. And it changes by itself. See that. What's your next thought going to be? You can't tell me what's your next thought, but a thought comes up. And what do? We grasp onto it with the concept, I think. I think this thought is my thought. But it wasn't your thought at all. So you formed a subject. With the thought, I think, you formed a subject. And the thought itself has become the object. So that's where the division starts. Subject-object dualism, thinking. Look at that. Can there be a thinker without thinking? There cannot be a thinker without thinking. Can there be the thought without thinking? There can't be the thought without thinking. So you might understand when Shakespeare tells you 400 years ago there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And yet I've got this belief in good and bad, pleasant, unpleasant, happy, sadness, all these concepts because of this mental, conceptual division. Life becomes very, very unhappy, very miserable, very anxious, fearful, depressed, guilty. And the Sacred tells us there's only life. Not personal, separate life, there's only life. He tells you clearly there's nobody who lives a life. You and I believe we are somebody. Somebody that can live the life. There's nobody who lives the life. He says life lives on life. The life's going on here and it's recognised. I look out there and I see this movement, vibration, birds, I see all you, beating, heart beating. I see life going on all around me. And it's not a personal, particular life. It's the one life that patterns and expresses it everything. And when we say, they tell us you've got to become one with the life. But aren't you alive right now? Aren't you breathing, living, trying to become something? We've probably been trying to become something that we think it should be for a long time. But why haven't you become? Don't you realise you can't become what you already are? You're being, aren't you? There's beingness here, and there's the same being that I see functioning there in each and every one of you. It's being. And there's a knowing of that being. Awareness of that being. And there's no concepts on it until just pure being, pure awareness. But we put the concept, I call myself a human being. Believe in God, separated it. Call yourself God the Supreme Being, a far greater being than what I am. But I am is the pure sense of awareness, the sense of knowing that you are, not the body and the mind or the concept, but that pure being, that sense of presence. And so we move away into the concept. But take away the word human from that word being, and take away the word supreme from that word being. Try and separate the beingness without the label, me or human. And you realise you can't separate it. You haven't stopped being. And no one has stopped being right here in this room right now, unless someone's carked it. Of course, but it's all pure being. And that being is knowing. There's no one who doesn't know that you are, doesn't know that I amness. And there is a loving to be. Any of you want to be dead right now? Hell no. Life and all its problems and all the rest of it, we don't understand. We don't want to lose sight of it. We want to keep it there. And there's only life, as the Sagata says. And he'll tell you that life comes from life. Well, have a look. Where did you come from? You'll say, I was born, I came from the life of my parents. Well, that's true. Life has come from life. And where did your parents come from? The life of their parents. And where did they come from? The life of their parents. Trace it back and see if you can find if there's any beginning to that life. Life is ever fresh and ever new. It's constantly transient, constantly changing. Mightn't realise it's changing. You look back on yesterday, you can only look back and recognise it from now, it's changed to what it was yesterday. Not realising it's changing right in this moment. Because when you look at time, you'll see that time's a conceptual image also. Time has a beginning, a middle and an end. Where's the spontaneous now moment begin? Beginning right now, and as soon as I'm saying that now, it's ending and spontaneously beginning again. Transient, changing. We don't realise that. And we will move into this concept of time. I began at such and such, and if I do this and do that, I will become so and so. You've done it for a long time. Have you become what you'd like to be? Or some of the people in this room have really looked into it and they already know that I am. And not I was or not what will be. I am. And that am is beginning spontaneously right now. And without any of the old concepts, past concepts and ideas on it, what is it? It's the ever-fresh presence awareness. What we're seeking for and what we miss. We lose sight of it with conceptualising, going into the concepts and time. Miss the simplicity of it. There is nothing simpler than one. And it's not even one. It just isness, what is spontaneously. No being, no wasing, no becoming, not will be. Just is. What is means it's unaltered, unmodified and uncorrected. And it means I, you and everything else am that. Nothing else. What's the point of it? It makes a hell of a difference. A hell of a difference. Because all those fears, phobias, and things that I had before, the problems and all the rest of it, they all disappear. The little bit that comes there now is soon recognised again for what it is and let go of. And some of it might hang around for a little while, but it's not as binding on you as it was before. It can't be, because it's lost its power. And the aging seems to continue, it's still continuing. The form's breaking down and patterning. And even there might be some growling and growling about it. The entity here, the believed entity or the essence, couldn't and cares less. Because it knows the isness of it. Not the wasness or the will be, but the isness. It is. What is means unaltered, unmodified, and recognise that you are that. You haven't changed at all. You are that without the concepts. You are that with the concepts. But the concepts are not binding. If you understand a concept is just a mental construct, it's got no reality to it whatsoever. The Buddhists tell you that, do that. The great perfection is the same as the absolute. You can't add anything to the perfect, you can't take anything away. Give it here there in one sentence. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. There it is, one sentence. You're not unaware right now, are you? You each know you're aware. How many concepts are going on and hiding it? Just drop the concepts. Get the taste of it, even if you drop it for a moment. Or look past it for a moment. You can't stop it, it's going to go on like the rest of this manifestation is continuing. You are dreaming a dream you call the world. And stop looking for ways out. The dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. Yeah, I want this good part, this is going all right. I don't want what was going on yesterday or unlikely what might happen tomorrow. Or when I've got to go and pay this fine or something like that. That's not your concern. Your concern is to love all of it or none of it. And the rest will be done for you. Imagine that. The rest will be done for you. And that's what's happening here. The rest is happening. Spontaneously, naturally, and effortlessly. If I like to put some of the concepts onto it, I mightn't like somebody who might, but if I don't bother conceptualising it, it's just as it is. What is means it's unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, just as is. And the isness changes, just like the earth rolling around the sun. It's changing constantly. And it's rolling around and we're in a different part right now and constantly moving. We're hardly noticing it till the day comes to the end, till it rolls around it. But it's not dividing. It's undivided. It seems to divide it. It seems to do lots of other things. Like in your dream, all sorts of things can seemingly happen. You dream this, you dream that, and dream something else. You can be in the hills, you can be on the oceans, you can be anywhere at all in that dream. And you probably have been in the dream. When you wake up, what happens? It all disappears. It all goes. You can only remember vague parts of it. Because it's transient, it's constantly changing. But what you don't realise, when you wake up from that dream, all these things in the dream disappear. The hills, the mountains, and all the seemingly solid, substantial things, they go. They're not there anymore. But you don't realise that you wake up to this dream. Because when I woke up this morning, 6 o'clock or sometime, everything continued on from where it left off the night before. Just the same as it does in a dream, but the dream doesn't continue in the dream, because you look in the dream and you realise your body never moved off the bed in that dream and no words had come out of your mouth. It took place in the seeming head. But this dream seemingly continues. When you wake up in the morning, it started off, I was in the same bed I was in last night. waking up and don't get up and went to the toilet and did all the things I usually do, and been doing it ever since. It continues. But now I know this for the living dream. Because when I go to when I do wake up in the morning, the things don't disappear. The words keep coming out of the mouth. The feelings and the thoughts and everything else carry on. It's not like the apparent dream in the sleep. This is the waking dream. And the psychic tells you that you're dreaming a dream you call the world. So stop looking for ways out. Be unconcerned, unfixated on it. Allow it to change. And things that need to be done get done. Somehow or other. Why or how, don't realise. But they do fall into place. Without all the strife, stress, the concepts and grief that went on years ago. The little bit that comes near it now, it's hardly worthwhile noticing. And the further on it goes, the less and less it's thought about and cared about. A lot of the things I was worrying about a while ago, I couldn't care less about now. Couldn't care less about how long this life lasts. Because I know it changes, it transits, it comes and goes. And I'm not going anywhere because I didn't come from anywhere. But it changes, it's transient. Let it change. And Nasagata tells you that also. He says, nothing can trouble you excepting your own imagination. Now the things that I used to imagine troubled the hell out of me. Conceptual things. Trouble, grief, problems, continuing. Realise they're all mental images, concepts. They come and they go, left as is. Nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. So all the stress, the guilt, the unhappiness, the fear, the anxiety, the little bit that comes here now for still out of the whole habit pattern is of no concern. There's a knowing that it's transient, it's going to change. And all that needs to happen is to leave it as it is, as much as possible. Just leave it as it is. And it'll correct itself, do what needs to be done. Now that's what we point out and ask you to look and see for yourself, because as I pointed out, it's one without a second. There's only the one. Don't expect someone else to give it here. No one can give it here. No one can take it. Because the one we believe we are that is separate is a total fiction. A total fiction. It's only that life that's expressing through that particular pattern. And you are that. So righto, Kat, get into it.
Good work.
Thank you, darling. Hi everyone, we don't have any questions. We have words of love from people. We have 30 people with us around who say namaste to everyone, and grateful for pointers and good morning, and yeah, that's the messages.
What have you done with my ears?
Oh, sorry.
Someone has got my ears, my ears.
Yeah, one from the other. They're on. So we will invite you to share. Tell us how you're going, what resonated, what didn't, what pointers help you. Where are you in that whole seeming journey without time and beginning and an end? Anyone would like to start us? Silence is a good start.
If you think it's a lot of shit, tell me that also.
Do you have a better idea, anybody?
Yeah. I hear it from quite a few people who did not have any glimpse of knowing or understanding in any other means than through the mind. That this is elaborated philosophy that we all subscribe to. You wanna? Okay. So the thing about that idea, and I have that idea. My mom believes that. Some girlfriends of some people here believe that this is another belief system that we think is better than other belief systems, just like the Muslims believe they are more accurate than Christians and all that. And we just have to go along with the fact that for some people there is no availability and no potentiality to even conceive of knowing different than through the conceptual thinking and interpreting, even though they also fully that already 100% present and aware of that presence. Only just the enchantment and the attraction of the mind and its stories is so intense that 100% of attention is trapped in that dreaming, that daydream. And the awareness of the daydream is absent. But is that any problem? Especially if they really enjoy where they are in the dream. No, it is not. We can fully appreciate that this is appearing in the screen of awareness. People who are having a concepts about us going beyond the concepts.
It's bizarre, isn't
It is, and it's lovely, it's beautiful, and it's perfect. There is the perfection about that. That it is not, we are not a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses trying to save the world or convince people that our philosophy is better.
Oh shit, I'm at the wrong meeting.
Yes, so the core of the essence of the teaching is there is no philosophy. Whatever can be conceptualized is not it. Whatever can be put in the story or set of dogmas or set of beliefs is not it.
Yeah.
The set of dogmas and beliefs and philosophies appears and disappear in that what we are.
Yeah.
One call.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kat.
It was just something you said right at the beginning that reminded me something. Happened this weekend. I had a friend come round, and she's an academic, and she was having difficulty in separating, her belief system from her looking, her seeing. And I said to her, so she's from Malaysia, and so I said, Fadila, I said, so thinking about it, how many years have you got? And she says 2. So I said, okay. So I said, now, in your sense of how many years you've got, just in your current sense right now,
Yes.
how many years you've got? She says, 2. So I said, okay. So I said, so how many toes have you got in your left foot? And in your experience now, don't think about it. Don't make that knowledge. How many toes you got in left foot? 5. So I said, but how do you know? She says, well, I pushed one toe down, and then the next toe down, and the next toe down, and the next toe down, and I think 5. And I think, so where do I go from here? You know? and I had somebody else there who was sort of looking onto this, and she said, Fadila, she said, what I want you to do is to separate what you know from what you see. Okay? Because that's what you've got to do. You've got to separate what you know from this, from your current experience of what's happening. I don't know that she got it after all that. Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Difficult for some
Yeah.
people.
Being, knowing and seeing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Particularly for probably an academic as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, their life is based in the mind and constantly reviewing and adjusting and kind of analysing and, you know, so
Yes.
Yeah.
that notion that there is another way of knowing
Yeah.
is just not present in
Yeah. Yeah.
in the academy. Unfortunately, they don't teach,
Yeah.
you know, direct perception or naked awareness. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look, having said all that, I remember that somebody put that one to me, and I didn't get it. Yeah. So it's possible.
Yeah, the Buddhists have a really short sentence in one of their texts. It says, "The intrinsic nature of all phenomena is emptiness." And, you know, if you hear that, if it registers, you innately know it's true. You know, you can see a butterfly. Yesterday there was some butterflies in the garden. And, you know, they're effortless. You can see there's an effortlessness, or you can imagine some fine effort being made. But all phenomena is empty, and there's no effort being made by any entities anywhere. We imagine all these things, especially when there's something going on here that's uncomfortable. But, you know, there's no doer. The doer is imaginary. And everything is done and nothing is undone or unfinished or, you know, there's no beginning or end to things. And, you know, if you look at a rainbow, that's a good example of phenomena. It doesn't actually have a location. I remember when I was a child, I heard that there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And in my ignorance, I was up the bush one day and there's a rainbow, and I headed off towards one end of the rainbow. And of course, about 10. And, you know, that we want to find that pot of gold.
What did you do with it?
Huh?
What did you do with it?
Oh, I'm not telling.
I knew you were hanging out.
Yeah, but, you know, like, the rainbow has no location. Everyone sees they see the same rainbow, but they don't see the same rainbow. It's different light entering the eye from a different angle, and it seems to be there. And I heard that when you have a double rainbow, the angle, I think it's 46 degrees and 52 degrees. Always, and it's the sun is always behind you, so that there's a kind of a law of physics in it. But the rainbow is not there, and it just appears to be there. So, and it's the same with me. When I heard Bob say, you know, that idiot up there said there's no me. Is he right or is he wrong? You know, you've got to find out for yourself. So you have to, you know, like, have a look in the privacy of your own whatever, you know, have a look, see if you can find that me. And you can't, because it's a fiction. But, you know, in looking for it, all sorts of things will come up from memory and then the mind, and you know, there may be a resistance. I don't want to see that there's no me, because if I'm not the me, then what the hell am I? And what am I going to do? And blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's, as Bob said, nobody can do it for you. No one can give it to you. And we all have that capacity of seeing and knowing, and they're not separate. They can't be separated. And, you know, visually things are registering somewhere. The sound is registering somewhere. If you try and separate the sound, where the sound is registering, from where the vision is registering, you can't separate it. It's the same no thing. It doesn't have a locality. but we've been encouraged to believe in the self-centre, and you know, you're a person, and you're responsible, and you know, you have to do the right thing, and all blah blah blah. And all the religions usually have some sort of guilt trip built into them. But anyway, the intrinsic nature of all phenomena is empty. There's no effort being made. So the unreality, there's a seeming reality to keep the unreality going because I have a personal investment in it. Me, my reality, not your reality. But reality is effortless and unreality is effortless. They're both the same thing.
I just wanted to add, in regards to the rainbow, you are that pot of gold that you're chasing.
I got it.
It's funny because you're always running towards something else that's in the opposite direction. But it's very funny. But yeah, no, thanks for sharing that as well. But I just wanted to express just a lot of gratitude to the lovely Bob and Kat. I'm feeling very grateful at the moment, just having been blessed with your direction and guidance, and everyone else here as well, with your loving words and everything else that everybody shares. It's very beautiful. It's hard to put into the perfect words to express it exactly how it's being felt, but it's a very beautiful thing that's happening here. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for bringing light into our home and our lives. All that light, all that brightness in the whole house, that's Zoran.
Don't be fooled by continuing symptoms. And I think that's important to realise. It's a nice saying, is that as things go on, as the patterns seem to reoccur, don't use that to be the proof that you're not that. We are always that, and regardless of whether the old anger comes back up or whether whatever happens, the threat of death is upon us. Who cares? Who cares really? We're just continually accessing that is, and in that we're always, every aspiration here, as you've been saying, Gilbert, is an attempt to find some kind of reference point which I can trust, which is inherently empty. So, no good. So, yeah, absolutely. Yes, that'll do. Thank you.
And you are the pot of gold. Looking forever and ever outside yourself to find yourself. How ridiculous. But we have a couple of comments from people who are online with us. And Natasha says, mind over matter. And Byron says, yes, Bob, it is a lot of caca words, except the fun of being and sharing. And Corina says, can anyone be fully happy with the dream? It seems as if suffering always picks its head when you identify with the dream. Yeah, well, that's a good point, but even if you realize it is a dream, you're still stuck with the dream until the body expires. And then you can be quite happy seeing how it unfolds. But yes, not knowing that it is a dream, there will be a moment of pleasure and it will be followed by the moment of pain. And in some cases, that self or that pot of gold or that stillness or that emptiness, pure perfection, is moved to investigate and find the clear reflection of itself, and in other it is not, and it's perfect either way. Because awakening is inevitable as the body expires, whether you into or not into that or the other philosophical system. The awakening from the dream, when the dream ends, is inevitable. And Maya says, I spend most of my time with my small kids and often find that the daydream is boring, even though I love them. So, and then she says it was sent prematurely, but maybe that was enough. Yeah, well, you may be moved to see things differently, and the same situation. And I'm sure that throughout the day it happens, like the diversity and variety of the dream, as much as it is boring, and it is loving, and it is challenging, and it is peaceful, and it is everything's included. It's it doesn't limit itself to one way of expressing. It's not one shade of grey.
The beauty of that is when the Nisargata says, once you've seen the dream as dream, you've done all you can, and the rest will be done for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the part we miss out on. But it happens by itself if you're alone.
Yeah, it's nothing to do, and the doership and the illusion of control is just that. The illusion of doership and the illusion of control. Even investigation, it feels like there is a me doing it. There is no me, it's just arising. And loving to be, says Larry. And Nat Kam says, my heart is also filled with blessings, love and gratitude for Bob and Kurt. That's nice, isn't it? Pleasant. Yeah, mine is too. Yummy. It is. And JB says, like Bob has said before, what's happening is beginning and ending simultaneously. There is no personal doer making anything begin and end simultaneously. How could there be?
Good, Jamie.
Yeah, that's it. And Ian says, hi Paula, wonderful, where you'd disappeared, wondered where you'd disappeared.
Who's that?
Ian, he's wondered where you'd disappeared.
One of your boyfriends.
I don't know who he is.
Secret admirer.
I know that feeling.
So, that is it for the online comments for now.
I'll say.
Yes.
Here's my little story. So on the way here, I was so eager to hear the pointers that sorry, Bob.
And to get me on time.
So anyway,
Don't tell them that in court.
So I got caught speeding, and so I get out of the car and, yes, officer, sorry, officer. And it's really, really, really funny, like the whole thing, just you get fined and it wasn't like, it was just sort of a funny event. Like it was just an event, like what were these caricatures and like these cars and I'm in trouble. But there was no feeling of any problem or any worry. Like that was just, and it just started replaying in your talk today. Like leave it as it is, unmodified, uncorrected. Like it was totally unmodified, uncorrected. It's like that's what it is, But then it wasn't until you were speaking just before, I just went back into the memory and go, life was never like that. Life was hell. I forgot how it was just totally different. Like this is just exactly as it is. But it used to not be like that. I almost forgot that it was great. Like this is wrong. I shouldn't have done this. This is bad. I should change it, fix it. And that's all gone. It's all just a narrative that's finished completely. And I was thinking, like Zoran, I said, being grateful to Bob, but I'm sort of grateful for everything, like everything. So include everything is that, and the appearance of a Bob is that with an appearance of a Bob, in that it's all appearing in that. Everything is that, and it's empty. Empty doesn't mean like just shallow or anything. It's full. The emptiness is full. It's it's beautiful, and that's probably all I've got to say. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was actually witnessing the scene with the with the policeman. It was quite incredible to actually see the level of peace and serenity when Dean was walking out, and he says, I had some events happening in the past that may actually end up badly, and do you have your driver's license with you? Or does your sister have your driver's license? I may not be able to drive any further. So that would be a situation calling for overall anxiety. But the anxious one was the police guy.
He was nervous, wasn't he?
The poor thing was really nervous, apologetic, explaining himself. He was living in hell.
Yeah.
He was doing a job which was really high demand and fear full of fear. While the way Dean handled the situation, just gliding with the energy. And it ended up that he waved to you or something. The guy was kind of nice with a beautiful day. Even though the fine still has to be paid. So if anyone finds a value in those pointings and put a little thingy into the box, that will go towards it, because otherwise we wouldn't make it. And I'd rather be here as much as everyone else. And I think we've missed a question from Tanya. So I see there is one here. And she says, hello all, protective mechanisms don't protect anyone, do they? Looking at this without the words, thoughts and noticed sensations, sensations don't need protection. It is only the thoughts telling the story of me, a character moving through life in need of protection. But I am not a thought. The thoughts are not a living entity. I'm not sure what I need to be protected from. A thought? Laughing out loud. And then she says, maybe I answered my own question. That's
She often does.
She often does.
She does, yeah.
And she does it well, Tanya.
Yeah,
Yes,
does.
thank you. That's really nice. Yeah, protective mechanisms are instincts that protect the body, and they don't need any narration. They function perfectly well if you look at the natural world. The animals are not equipped in that narrative self-commenting, and they have very well developed and very appropriately tuned survival mechanisms. And our often, because of that memory, hold trauma longer and re-traumatize themselves through the narrative and reliving the past and get dysregulated. But that's perfect too, that's how life has it. But yes, you definitely answered it well. You don't need it. The protection, and this is where the dream traps us, because the moment the self-center gets located in the narrative and becomes the thinking is basically a center of fear. So I only feel safe if I understand. I don't understand shit, there is nothing to be understood about it. But I can say, oh, this is a cell phone. Now I know what it is. I don't. Can anyone say you understand how the cell phone or internet or anything like that works? You know, we may have explanations, and some may have better ideas than others, but they're still ideas. The way the world is manifesting is complete mystery. But with the fear-based thinking, now I'm so afraid, I need the philosophy, I need the religion, I need to know, and now I have the illusion that I know what's going on and I'm safe, because the knowing gives me false sense of safety. Oh, I have the control, so I can protect myself. So that I comes with the picture. It comes from looking from the head and medicating or somehow satiating the fear and the control, and they all assume that there is a me who can do it and who is doing it. While the knowing, in which that fearful me and that control freak me is arising, is completely independent from all that content. The knowing happens. Without that knowing, content wouldn't be possible. The fear and escaping from fear and hypnotizing oneself with the ideas that I know something or the other, or I know what's going on, or I know what's right or what's better. That stuff wouldn't be even possible if not for that space-like awareness in which us basic scream, as Bob says. And then we have another comment from Yelena. The changes that take place in us are so subtle that we rarely notice them. But if you look back at how you used to be, isn't it like a night and day? A world of difference. Only the mind is never enough. It's always thinks something else needs to happen. Be better. You can do better. It is incredible. What a mechanism. Yeah, that's a beautiful highlight of what Dean was just saying. You know, like 10 years ago, that situation that we went through would be a hell.
Yeah.
An anxiety that would be just lingering over probably for weeks.
the mind would replay it again and again and again and again. And
Yes.
get nowhere. It's just
Yeah.
like, that's suffering.
It is suffering.
Suffering,
Yeah.
just psychological, unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
Mm.
Needing to know things to feel safer.
Mm.
Feeling fearful and needing help to get out of that fearful situation. That's hell. While you can see how the energy moves through the awareness, you don't even have to label it fear or anxiety. You can just be curious about whatever the energy moves out. But when you feel that this is me, this is I, this is happening to me, I'm fearful, I'm anxious, I have to do something about it quickly. That's hell.
Yeah, I was just thinking about gratitude and thinking that, okay, it's fine to have gratitude for individuals, you know. Absolutely, that's great. That's a holographic miracle of... In reality, it's a holographic miracle of gratitude directed to everything and everyone. You know, how could we possibly do it that way otherwise? You know, we're here because the policeman is totally included in, as is everyone, in that gratitude. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for having this incredible meeting, which is the meeting of about nothing. And yeah, it's an impossible situation too, because we're not the individuals we think we are gathering here. This is all just the whole of that is expressing itself all at once. For that, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Beautiful, and that actually answers the question, why would that completeness, fullness of the totality ever need to go into that dualistic, hellish division and separation? Well, how else would it experience gratitude? How else would it experience anything? So there is a comment from Maya. I think like I am like the nervous policeman in my role of as a parent. I am so scared of doing right or wrong for my kids that I find it hard to glide and just go with the flow, because I'm scared and I'm missing something important that will do wrong to my kids. Maybe me and the policeman are taking this all way too serious, and a smile. Thank you for letting me listen in. I love it. Also, my dad, Arvo, says hello from Sweden. And yes, we say hello, and yes, you are actually taking it very, very seriously. And the fact is that you are not solely responsible for raising your children, but the whole universe is. Even if you've done all the right thing, and the life essence wants to experience itself as a trauma, that may be a school teacher or a piece of news or a bird that shit on your shoulder. It's just so, it's such an incredible complexity of factors that bring up the situation. You can only do your best and don't believe the narrative too much, especially when it tortures you with giving you a credit for right doing and wrong doing, because you have no credit. Not being a doer, the life is moving you to go this way or float this way or that. Blame it on life and stay innocent and stay happy, stay in your heart. Just do your best, which you cannot not do anyway. So can't get it wrong. And Ram says, emotions come up as when required. I once heard Bob say that in some situations anger is necessary. If the cop was being a dick, a different approach may have been required. Yep.
Exactly.
And JB says, love ya Bob and Kat and everyone. And Byron says, what kind of cake do you serve with the tea? Yeah, the good answer, Byron, is who cares? Who is asking? But that's a valid question. What's your favorite cake? The one you're eating right now?
Yeah.
The emptiness.
Yeah, so authority, authority. Whose authority? Take for instance the policeman. He has authority, but he's been given authority by the courts or whatever. So he's playing a role, and it's a bullshit role, because the authority, there's only one authority in the universe, and that is whatever the one is, which is not even one.
You're a total anarchist.
I missed that.
You're a total anarchist.
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 Oh, that's a nice word.
I'm leaving. I love you.
Yeah, you've got no authority. Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti said, the speaker has no authority. So he's talking about himself. He has no authority. And yet speaking happens. The intrinsic nature of all phenomena is emptiness.
Beautiful.
Hold it for me.
I'll hold it for you.
'Cause I want to test something out and see if this works. Just see if I can manifest something. I want a beautiful song to play before the meeting's over. That's possible.
Feel a song coming on.
It's working.
Gee, that manifestation course you did was really good.
You're pretty good there. It's a quick word.
Probably the mic holder.
Don't run away from grief, oh soul. Look for the remedy inside the pain. Because the rose comes from the thorn, and the ruby comes from a stone. Don't run away from grief, oh soul. Look to the pain for the remedy, because the rose comes from a thorn, and the ruby comes from a stone, from a stone, from a stone. Yes, the ruby comes from a stone, from a stone, yeah, from a stone. Yes, the ruby comes from a stone. Don't run away from grief, oh soul. Look to the pain for the remedy, because the rose comes from a thorn, and the ruby from a stone. Yes, the ruby from a stone, from a stone, yeah, from a stone. Yes, the ruby comes from a stone, from a stone, or from a stone. Yes, the ruby comes from a stone. They were the words of Rumi, the poetry of Jalaluddin Rumi. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and we have quite a few comments here of people happy to hear the song. Nat Kam says, Great. I was hoping that she would play a song. Thank you. And Tanya says, beautiful song. Thank you. And yes, it was.
Thank you.
One more song, one more
You
question.
have to sing a song. I mean, you'll enjoy that.
One more song.
One more song.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the one we did last week?
Yeah.
Beyond ideas of right doing, beyond ideas of wrongdoing, there is a field,
That's also Rumi.
a beautiful field. I'll meet you there. Yeah.
Is that Rumi too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Rumi's greatest hits.
Beyond ideas of right doing, beyond ideas of wrongdoing, there is a field, a beautiful field. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Everyone sing along. Beyond ideas of right doing, beyond ideas of wrongdoing, there is a field, a beautiful field. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Beyond ideas of right doing, beyond ideas of wrongdoing, there is a field, a beautiful field. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there.
And that's here. That's here. Because
I'll
there
meet you
is,
here.
yes. Because there is no other time, and that is where the I and you and me collapses. Right here, without the thinking of right and wrong. That's right here, right now. That's the field, beyond the mind, beyond the division, beyond the interpretation, story, dreaming. And we are here.
I'd like to say something about here.
Mm.
Yeah, just something I've been noticing about. I don't know if you can say like one of the formulas or the functionings of falling back into yourself, or the clearer sort of seeing. It's and it's just really, it's strange that this thing is the only thing where the less you do, the more you get back. It's the strangest thing, you know. Like everything else out there, you have to try so hard, and you have to grind, and you have to plan, and you have to there's so many things, you know, like you have to do so many things to get something which is in the end never permanent, you know, lasts for a very, very short period of time most of the time, and then it's usually not what you thought it was going to be anyway. But then you start coming back this way, and it's like the less you do, not in a lazy way like, oh, I'm going to sit there and watch Netflix all day, but just letting go, that surrender aspect that we talk about. Like the less you do, the more you get back. And it's just a never-ending, you know, like, and the greater you let go, the greater your paycheck, if you will, for this, you know, and it's incomparable. It's it's something that you can't. It's unforgettable. It's not like it doesn't have a use by date. It doesn't. You know, you don't get bored of it. It's always just
fresh and new.
It is. It's but like even the words don't do it justice. It's but yeah, less is definitely more in this regard. It's I just wanted to share that because sometimes it does help. I know with me, if there is like some sort of formula or something that the brain can grasp, you know, like, oh, what is it? How do you get there? Like, you know, these sorts of things that the mind wants. But yeah, I sort of find sometimes that if there is something that, from a logical perspective, you can hold on to, that can bring you back to that, and it is that surrendering. You know, like the less you touch, the less you do, the less you think, the less you accumulate. Just that reminder just to be, and you know, and not touch anything, and the more you can stay in that, you're just showered with the grace that's always obviously here. But yeah, it's a nice little thing, I think. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, good way of explaining it.
Yeah, very good way.
Is my cup runneth over?
Yeah, my cup runneth over.
Cup runneth over.
Yeah, cup runneth over.
Emptied. It's a funny saying that, you know, the pessimist can see the glass half empty while the optimist can see the glass half full. Yeah, what about the idea of actually really seeing the glass as it is, emptiness itself? Whether it is half full or half empty, it is still the emptiness appearing as the glass. And I love what you said, Zoran, about, you know, doing so much and believing in the outcome, you know, manifesting the outcome, believing in yourself. You have to believe in yourself to achieve anything. And here, not only you don't have to believe in yourself, you kind of step and let go of any concepts that you have of what the self is. And you are left with non-conceptual awareness, where there is no self, there is no self-definition. It is not about defining myself from being shy to being confident, or from being wrong to being right, or from being small to being a large, so totality, God, space. No identification is required. Even if I say I am the space-like awareness, or I am that, it's still a concept. And who needs a concept? What they are. There is no self which would need to say I am totality or God or big or small. No, there is absolutely no words that are necessary to even say, to even look at, try to define. Initially, the investigation, when it arises, it kind of looks for itself, like the pot of gold, looking for the pot of gold, which you already are. But then the more of the looking and the less of the finding, they kind of even itself up. And then suddenly the looking and the finding is the cessation of the looking. There is no one to look. So there is nothing to find, because no one is looking. Because there is no one there. It's just an illusion of control, illusion of fear, illusion of needing to protect or defend. All that beautiful illusions, all that beautiful waves of software running in order to experience and express. But once you see through it, you see the smoke and mirrors, you can enjoy it now without being bound and without, you know, being swayed or too enchanted. And we are about the time, and now we have a couple of comments here as well. And this is Larry says, Bob quipped to me recently about seeing through the bullshit belief in separation. In looking closely into the idea of separation, all that comes up is more thought, appears and disappears spontaneously, and is centered around the implied character called me or I. What's interesting here is that those words themselves are pointers. They can come and go, but the actuality of what they represent or symbolize doesn't. Great point. They clearly point to the fact of being, which is ever present as this aliveness, which I cannot refute. I can't actually find the thing pointed to with the words me or I, and yet the certainty that I am is undeniable. Resting there, nothing needs be said, yet the taste could be said to be exquisite, joyful, and a coming home. Thank you, Bob, and thank you all for your singing and smiling and laughing and sharing. Yeah, that's beautifully said.
Thank you, everyone.
And a couple more thank you messages. We can wrap it up here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.